I welcome Abhibroto Karmakar for this podcast. This is a kind of a podcast where I was always waiting for. Trust me, he gave me a slot in March and I took it in May now. Because I was so dumb to not to see the message once again saying, let's just meet up again in the month of March. Sorry for that, sir. And also, moreover, is a very genuine human being in terms of research and also in terms of educating people. He does a lot of mentoring to a lot of people. And also, yesterday we had a pre-podcast call. Trust me, it was the best call that I had. Even though I meet a lot of people, meeting somebody who is very closely related to the doctors, right? It gives me a lot of pleasure in understanding some new things about myself and them also. So I'm very glad that I'm doing a podcast with him. So yeah, let's just do the podcast and demystify some of those questions which we were never heard of, which I'll be asking, and the answers which you have never heard about research and medicine. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Vishwas. Thank you for giving me platform to say my words and say me my journey, how it has been a researcher. And let's start. Let's have some questions from your side.
Yep, sure. More of like, you're now a researcher at AIMS now. Like, let it be a PhD, postdoc, anything in future. You might choose probably. I know that you will be going for the postdoc for sure. But I want to ask you this one question: like, what was your 15th birthday like, and how did it actually differ from the day you started studying for your bachelor's and things like that? And how are you satisfied with your academics right now? I'm not asking about the marks right now, but I'm asking you about your overall academic journey, which has brought you to this human being and Abhibroto, where I admire for giving me Gyan yesterday. Like,
Thank you for your admiration. But starting my journey, I belong to a very small town in Jharkhand called Bokaro. So my journey was I got my schools and studies from Kendra Vidyalaya. I did my schooling, and I was fortunate enough. I chose biotechnology because I was a research oriented person. So I was not a kind of I was interested in the field of medical as well as research. So something which I always wanted to go for. So I chose with the biotech, and I started my bachelor's degree from St. Xavier's College, Ranchi. And again, it was privilege for me that during my master's, because when I learned in bachelor's biotechnology, the biotechnology is a very vast subject. So when you talk about biotechnology, now there are engineers, now the persons from BSc, BTech, there are a lot of, there's a vast field. And there is different domain in the field of biotechnology. When you say about biotechnology, there's medical biotech, agri biotech, there are pharmaceutical biotechnology. So there are subsectors in field of biotechnology. But from starting on, I was interested in the field of medical biotech, and I wanted to be in a medical college. So after finishing my bachelor, I chose the field of medical biotechnology, which was my specialization, which I did from an eminent institute in Kolkata, that is School of Tropical Medicine. So there is the only course which gives a MSc in medical biotechnology, because apart from that, there is a courses where MD, DM are there in that institute, but only MSc courses medical biotech there. And now medical biotech is there in many colleges. I think JIPMER was the first one to start with a 3-year course, and the subject is really very beautiful and really interesting if you really want to come in the field of biotechnology, in the field of medical research, clinical research, or translations research, when you want to work with the patient, as well as your basic science research. So that was very clear from my side. So I chose with that. And after that, journey continues. And journey was lot. Let me tell you, and after some questions more about my journey. But the thing was, from Bokaro to a small town to a medical college, this was my journey in my academia. Then comes my part of journey as a job in other institutes, which I will be discussing you later on. So shall we
yeah,
move?
sure, sure. Like, how has AIMS really coined the term of researchers? Like, any research papers that I see from AIMS, it's like, wow, it's something new out there. Like, how has AIMS really chiseled you up as an whole new level of engineer? Because, of course, You might not behave like an engineer, but you are an engineer by the soul. Trust me. Because when we see some people talk, we can say their approaches like, hey, this guy has a very structured approach. Let's just approach him, learn something new from him. Like, I want to ask you, like, how has Ames really molded you as an professional that you are today? More of an engineer, yeah. Of course, it is not an
Yeah.
engineering institution, but I know it has really molded you as some professional for sure.
Correct. So saying about AIMS, I will say this is first, you have a privilege that you're working in India's best institution, which is known worldwide in the field of medical research. And I was fortunate that before joining AIMS, I was a part of Christian Medical College Vellore. That is also number one in the private university as in the medical field. And I worked in a part of Chest Research Foundation. So before joining AIMS, I have a previous exposures in industry as well as in academia, which are also in the topmost in their domain. So once I got the opportunity to work in AIMS, now I am in the field of, I'm working in the Department of Biochemistry as a research fellow. And it's really an honor because here you get to work with a lot of doctors, scientists. You've been selected as a for a project or something, but trust me, you get to learn so many things. You have the MD, medicos, non-medicos, engineers, bioinformaticians. So there are a lot of scope you get to learn every day with lot of new people when you're working with a postdoc, and even a junior can teach you a lot. So starting from the programming or to learn some techniques which is clinically relevant, learning some techniques which are non-clinical, but apart from that you come out as a nurture. It has nurtured you well as a good as a scientist as well as a person. I can say you have a multitasking opportunity in working in AIMS. So that is really an honor to be part of AIMS. And here you get, if you show your spark, you get to work on multiple dimensions of project, and you yourself don't know that you were good at that, or you started learning and grasping things, and then it comes to wonderful period and wonderful lessons you learn from this institution. And you get, and the most important thing, you need to get good connections, and people are very free. You can have their good interaction whenever you want. You can have a good interaction whichever doctor you want, and you can play your games. And the most important thing, you can continue your other extracurricular activities, which I think as a researcher in other part of institution you don't get a time to do that, but AIMS really nurture all these things.
Yeah, like, I really want to ask you this question because how difficult is it to engineer any solution in your field? Because likewise, when you are talking about AI, deep learning, you do not belong to the computer science department, but yet you are indulged in learning all these things in your everyday research, because you are now a research fellow who is thrown up with some problem statement. Hey, Abhibroto, just solve this problem. But like, how difficult is it to solve a problem? That's what I really want to know, because it's not about the advent of AI, which has made me think like AI is going to be the next new thing, but there are millions and millions of researchers and which has really gone on. You can actually read the papers and say that it's a work of years and years of research from different individuals. Like, I just want to ask you, like, what's your approach in solving that problem, and how difficult is it to solve the problem in this field?
The question you asked, you only said the answer. The thing is perseverance. It is the perseverance and the patience you have that makes you a scientist. So it's not any job of experiment or doing sometimes. It's when you come to a field of research, you need your journey of life. So you know how to be solve problems of your life rather than just focusing on your experiment part. You just learn, because when you work in researcher in India, you not only do work as an experiment, you try to handle a lot of administrative work, which is somehow you get to engage to a lot of activities, from funding agencies to getting the fund, your stipend issues. There are millions of issues which comes up, and it is you who understand. And when you complete your journey of not only PhD, I will say as an academician or as a scientist, when your journey started to till date, whenever you are working, it's you have to face it every time. As an early career researcher, if you go to US and coming back and starting a journey as a scientist in India, it's lot of things. I have been working with a lot of young scientists. I have been working with a person who is very senior scientist in the field. Everyone has their pros and cons, and everyone has to go through that journey. So it's how you learn and how you try to make yourself calm and solve the issues. So it's not, if you say a scientist who learned, who is now 70 and who learned biochemistry as the subject, the subjects which are very new, just what you said, deep learning, machine learning, or whatever subject which we have come out now, bioinformatics, chemoinformatics, there are a lot of subjects. So I don't think they have studied during their time, but they are taking classes now. So don't you think that they have also worked hard to that? And now we have a lot of resources. We have YouTube, we have a lot of Google things and all. But when they used to read, they don't have such resources, but still they have worked and they have grasped it and they have done it. So we are the youngsters. I think if you are interested in any part of your work and that makes you happy, you can learn anything. I think an IT person can learn many part of biotechnology. Biotechnology can work with an IT person. And I firmly believe in India, this structure is somehow is changing now. And now people are coming, medicos, non-medicos, engineering, management. If all comes together, I think that research will be something great and something really innovative in terms of productivity, in terms of market value, and in terms of personally identifying yourself and nurturing yourself. So,
Sure. That's true. That's true. Because more of the fact that we go through, like every research paper might look like an fruit in front of you, but to just harvest it or just give it in front of the world, right? There are a lot of things that goes on. Like even I didn't receive many fundings. Like I didn't receive a lot of fundings actually. Like sometimes when I used to go and present the papers, I can't go to my college and say that, hey, I've presented a paper here. Can I get that money? Because I'm your student, I've been that. They don't care because whether you have done it from other person or this person. The only thing is I just want to nurture myself. So that's where the hustle comes in. Like I just want to ask you this one question, because last time when we talked on the research aspects, you also talked about, you also work on some aspects with a mother and a baby, which is related to the breathing and things like that. Like I just want to ask you this one question. Like let's just go individual. Let's not go with the mother and the baby. But like, what's the lasting effect of COVID-19? Like, what's that lasting effect which is just going to happen? Like, even if you are vaccinated or it's non-vaccinated, or it's, when you just suffer from COVID, what's the lasting effect that you're going to have in your body?
okay. So, as we all are suffering now with this pandemic of COVID-19, so the question which you arise is really important, how what is lasting in ourselves, in our body, the COVID-19 and the virus deadly disease. You have been seeing the trend. I have been working from the last year with the COVID-19. I have been working with some projects with COVID-19, and now I'm doing some bioinformatics, both the dry lab and wet lab work in the field of COVID-19. So you will see there the statement from media house, there will be coming double mutant, triple mutant, like this mutation and all. So now people have also come to a terms which is a scientific term for us. Now the common people are being aware of a lot of the such terms. But saying that COVID-19 is something which is new to whole world. So even if it's a doctor, even if it's a scientist, we need to, we learn at every day, because it's changing every time, and every, the thing and the scenario which we have kept for the virus has now been changing. So what we know previously about virus, it has been showing not that same trend, it is something different. So I personally believe now also it is when you see the different individual, for different individual it has been different characteristics. So it's like something we cannot give very specifically for the same person which we give to you, and it cannot be same for me as well. So it can be somewhat same, but it depends on the individual's response. It's something, when the virus goes inside your body, there is your immune system which works up. This is, virus can be inside everyone's body, but the thing is how your immune system work out. There are a lot of cytokine generation. There are a lot of terms. I think it's for a common person, it's now they are also been aware of these terms, the immunological terms and all. But saying that, I will say in a very layman language, okay, something can be inside your body, and the way the body responds to it, it differs from different persons for different age group. And considering the fact now vaccination, post vaccination, there are lot of means. If you want to solve, I will say I will give you a very simple example. Suppose you want to kill a bacteria, and bacteria has evolved lot of years ago when we have evolved. But try to kill that, we whenever the whatever strategy we apply, they change their strategy before us. So it is like that. If a virus, we are making something to do that, it is mutating every day. So the mutation rate of mutation in viruses also should be less as comparatively, which is seen in this COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2. So it is really a puzzle, a question to solve for all of us, for the scientists as well. So for us also to look after that, how the COVID is changing at every level, every month. So if we are now, I'm working on some projects where I've been tracking from the every month how it has been changing its mutation level. So how has the virus changed, and which are the different forms it has been exhibiting in different types of country. It's that some in UK there is some predominant variation. When you come to India, it is completely different. And again, it depends on the population. We are facing with a big population, huge population. So once the huge population is not being affected, so it's very rare, and we don't know after 10 years what will be the post consequences of the COVID-19. So as we are saying, every day we are coming with the, if you see now, it's nothing in our part of body is left. So which is called in medical terms is systemic manifestation. So this is a systemic disease. So it is not affecting only your lungs. It's affecting every part of your body. Some is affecting with the neurological, some goes for the depression. There are some problems with for the ortho part. So there are body ache, fever. So every person has different severity of the infection. And there are some people who are positive, but they don't have anything. They are living well. So there is a still a big questions, what you say about the vaccination thing. But I will always suggest that you should go for vaccination. At least it will help in the, as the efficacy level is very good, and it has been shown that it has been helping. The more the people are vaccinated, it is the mortality rate is less in them. So as per the research, I can say that it is good. But again, there are a lot of controversial topics. There is vaccine doses, how long it should be taken, what should be the gap period. So I think for, if we need to have a next podcast, then we can have discussion over completely over the COVID thing. For time being, I think this much is enough for the virus to speak up.
Because I asked this question because even if this podcast is around like 20 years, 30 years after, people should get to know, like, oh my God, my father has suffered through this.
Exactly. So we
Because
don't.
we actually didn't expose our children, because we now are known. Like, because last time when I was doing with a Dr. Rajesh Lal Chandani, he himself also told the same thing. If we had not experienced something like Spanish flu or something like that, probably we wouldn't have had analyzed that there is going to be some apocalypse like this. Or else, I even had an bioinformatician who has his own startup, and he literally told that probably, man, if you just think of the problem statement, that at the rate at which we are solving today, if we never analyze the previous viruses, or else if we didn't have the virologists studying every day and coming out with some sort of a conclusion, probably this would have prevailed for 100 years. By then probably humanity would have had completely vanished or things like that. So that's where
No,
I asked you
it
the
will come
question.
to an end of endemic. It will be coming to an endemic, and I think it's more 2-3 waves should be coming up, and then it will go off. So it's time apart. It should be coming, and then it will leave. But again, it's a thing I personally believe, but I don't know. There's no research, but it just came on our mind. Suppose the person who is now suffering from positive, COVID positive, and all has suffered. If we could take any specimen and keep it for them, for suppose the blood sample or any sample thing, so that after 10 years also, after 20 years also, there is a machine learning, there is AI which we can use. So it is your field which can do much better, or we can use of robotics. So there are various fields which come up. That's again the journey of interdisciplinary, what it's said to be working together. So if we collect the samples and keep it, and we visualize what is the gene level changes and all, we can. It is just like GMO, genetically modified thing. If it is a genetically modified, you don't know. It needs to be taken 10, 20 years or 25 years. Then you can say exactly what has happened. So whenever you get to a supermarket, you will say GMO without GMO. So if you are willing to take GMO, you don't know what will be the consequences of that. So for that, you have to wait more 20 years to see that. So it's your choice. You want to move ahead or you want to just go for the natural thing.
Yeah, because you have been studying about this virus for a longer time. Let me just ask you a generalized question. Are viruses and the proteins much more intelligent than a human being? Because you told that they just have a counter plan apart from what humans can think tomorrow also, right? Like, I just want to ask you this generalized
Ex-
questions. Like, are they much more intelligent than us? Like, can they hear us? Can they really
Yeah,
sense us?
yeah. Suppose you are attacking someone, so your enemy is always ready to fight for that. And what you strategies you build up, they already know that strategies because they have evolved much before than when we have evolved. So evolution matters. It always says, "No, father is known much better than son. The father knows better than you what you know." So it's like that. So like a virus strategies, they have their own replication systems. We don't know. If you think now, also virus can replicate with our DNA, and it can the copied and it can go to our next generation. You can imagine what next can be happen. So it is like there are possibly so many questions lying and answers we need to wait for many years to see if our next generation is affected or not. But if you say the proteins, if we say about that, what you said about the proteins, the virus protein or the whichever the receptor level where they entry in the body. So there are S receptors, there are TMPRSS2 names. So basically this is for the hypertension. So when they enters the virus entry, so if there is a site they can easily infect the person who is hypertension or that is diabetic. So that is told if a person is suffering from other comorbidities, they're easily affected rather than the person who is naturally fit. So this is one of the scenario because they get the binding site. Suppose if I say in a layman language, you get a if you want to connect as the signal, so it's like a TV antenna. You need an antenna and the signal is reaching, and then you are seeing the visualization. So that is a very basic mechanism what you learn in your physics, electronics, whatever you learn. So if you say in the biology part of that, they get the receptor where they get to bind itself and they can transmit the infection. So
More of the research today, how do you feel that one day we are going to be the number one in terms of the research? Because we are still the developing country, as the word says, but yet we are still lagging behind in terms of research. I'm more into missile, and I feel that Israel has really improved on years after years. Like, literally, their technology is good, and I feel somewhere Korea is also in that verge of getting into the research. Like, they're amazing actually, but like not in par with the Israel, because that technology is really really awesome. I think none of the countries can really beat Israel in terms of missile. But what do you feel about India's situation in terms of research tomorrow? Like, will we be the leader in terms of the research, or what is it all about?
exactly. So see, it's very easy to put finger over others and saying negative of everything. But being a researcher in India, I will say that being a researcher or being a medico, you need to deal huge population. That is the biggest question. When you compare with other countries which are developed and are developing countries, India has shown far best results. And it's not the intellectual disability with the students. We have we have so much intelligence with us that we can do any kind of research, whether it is in the field of physics, chemistry, biology, or any interdisciplinary field. But there are some administrative governments. So dealing with such a big population, it's always a one factor. But if you see other ways around, the COVID thing, the people are coming with a lot of innovations, and if you I think people are not aware of the fact, even students getting bachelor's degree, master's degree in the field, they go for the higher education, PhD, postdoc, as you started as you said that you will be definitely going for postdoc, and it's not always same. There are persons who can go for entrepreneurship. There are persons who can have their own journey. We never know because it's a thing which we have been set up. you have to go for MSc, you have to go for PhD. It's not like that. You know, if you say the industry like biotech, it ranks 12th all over the world. India ranks 12th. There are field which we even don't know that India is doing such a work. I can show you some of the things. Now, when we talk about cancer therapeutics, so there are a lot of entrepreneur companies coming up who give you diagnostic therapy. They work on your genes. At genetic level, they understand what is your family history, and they try to give you all the precise medicine and accuracy. So the generation after 10 years will be lying on the personalized medicine, which I believe which has been a revolutionary because of the field of biotechnology, because of the field of medical biotech, and other part of science which has come forward. And if you see, they are in the Forbes magazine top 100, in top 100 Forbes. They are the one of the persons, biotechnologists and the scientists. But students are not aware of that, because students think we need to go for the culture which has been going out. We have to go for higher studies, and they get frustrated at a level and they say it's not of my cup of tea. So I believe you need to change your track. You need to know yourself. If you are good in what, if you are good in experiment, go for experiment. There are a lot of work you can do in science without doing experiment. So you need to know which part is good of yours. Try to get to know yourself during your studies, because you can study well, you can get the college degree. It's up to how you take it for the lifetime. So if you want to earn, if you want to fulfill and keep it in a such level, I think you first need to know yourself and what all going in your field. So if you really want to do the research, try to come up with the companies which are working on that, what are the platforms they are working. And first, and the thing I can say, you need to upgrade yourself every day. So it's if you say I'm a mathematician, I cannot know biology, it's wrong. And if a biology students say that I don't need mathematician, it's wrong. So we need stats, we need bioinformatics, we need lot of subjects. So the way you nurture yourself with all the subjects, I think you will reach to your potential and you will be happy. End of the day, you should be happy what you are doing. So that is my point of view. So research in India is completely good. There are some pros and cons, which if you compare with other countries like USA, the things you can easily get it affordable, the company approach is good, people don't have to struggle. But again, when you come back to your country, own country, when you start your own journey, then you have to face all this again administrative issues, so which you learn during your bachelor's and masters will never go out. The thing you learn during these days of your work, once you come back as a scientist or a doctor, you work here, you know how to manage 1,000 people. You can give your ideas, you can share your ideas, you know the administrative part of work, you know, apart from your science, all other activities, which I think lag behind in other developing countries, where you get everything what you wanted in just one shot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because most of the times when I see entrepreneurs, like I go freelance for the startups and things like that, I feel that they have really felt the heat of research, because they are from elite institutions like IISc, IITs, or NIE, NITs, or things like that. I can really feel that heat that they had really felt during when they were doing the research. That's actually going to nurture you as a very new scientist out of what you are capable of. Like some way we will jugaad our way into achieving some new things. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
your the subject you speak out or the degree you get, it doesn't your degree. There are a lot of thousands of people are coming out with the same degree which you have. It is what you think of, what is your way of understanding, and what is your conceptualization, and how you use it in your practical world. That matters. There are a lot of fellows with very good degrees from the very eminent institutes still don't know what to do. So again, I will say a questions. You just need, don't get the degree, don't go for your CGPA. It doesn't matter. It will be matter for your career at the first stage, but I believe one thing which you need to know your capabilities, you need to nurture your ideas, have a share with your colleagues, with your seniors, try to understand, try to learn from them, and then come out with your own ideas. So that will really help you for the youngsters.
Yeah, that's true. But like when you told about updating ourselves, right? I think people have really started to update themselves very recently. Like I have never expected that lady to come out with some reference to some research paper. Because whenever I used to come out with some reference to some research paper, she used to call me, "You're a nerd, dude. I can't study like you, but like but I want to be like you one day. Like she literally had told me like that. But one day she came out with that reference of one paper, like literally on a biotech paper. She is a CS grad from a different college. She's my senior, and I was shocked by the way she was coming out. Like public is more in terms of information. Like they are gathering more information because they want to leave now. Like I just want to ask you this silly question: like, what's the public perception for research? Are they still living by the facts that is given out by the researchers? Like I know 90% are still, but like how far has this pandemic or anything affected the way in which they are educating themselves every day?
Yeah. So what you said is public saying about research, they kind of believe, but again, they have a borderline for that. They won't cross that borderline. So see, now even the medicos get shocked when the patient comes and say that with the Google thing that ऐसे karna hai, I will do like that, and it's fine for them. So we are also shocked, like research which we are doing from so many years and all, and then also end of the day we don't get any result. We find we get frustrated. It's not coming the way we thought of. So public people, but here again the comes the gap between the audience and the mentor or the scientist. It's our society has been designed in such a way that scientists have never come front or have never been accepted. If they have been accepted, when they have died. So you can see a lot of cases, the cases of IVF. If we go for the history of many diseases in India, it's not only India, if you say in the world, part of world, HIV, if you say of the IVF history, you go with this history and you will come to know there were scientists who were the first one in Indians who developed all these things, who discovered all these things. But unfortunately, our society never accepted it. When it comes from US, when it comes from the developed countries, then we accept it. But the same theory when we apply with the minimal resources is not accepted. So, and then lies the race, and then you say that the opportunity is given to someone much better. So it's not the public have really now the intellectual level or their resources are much more to take people, whatever you say, you cannot lie. So it's what you say, they know everything, because once what you goes in air, it is the thing they will go and do the Google, and they will again retrace you, and they will just screw if you are not correct. So public has been more aware, but still I feel that as much as doctor has been given opportunity or the platforms they have been leading, scientists have been not been given that part, or scientists has always been a back front, not coming in front and talking to the audience, which they have the work have been done by them, the most of the work, and the ideas which have been shared to the doctors, and which further they have been using for their patient. So as for clinical research, I will say, or the basic science research also, scientists should be more need to be coming front, and they should be getting more respect, at least in India.
Yeah, let's just talk about this pandemic, which has really affected the ways in which the mother and the baby is being affected. Like literally, like they are still in the fear of like, hey, like we can't breastfeed our babies or else things like that. Or it's like, you know, I literally fear somebody coming to my home, or else I literally fear talking to some people. I just want to ask you this one question: what's the lasting effect which can have on a baby and on a mother who is just recently delivered a baby or things like that? Like how can they really be affected? Because we are talking about the respiratory system, which literally gives the support for us to enjoy everything. Like it, I can't have an hypoxia and go happy and laugh at people, laugh with people, not laugh at people, laugh with people and say that, hey, I'm enjoying my life today. Like what's that all about?
Okay. So when it comes to the COVID thing, and especially when we deal about the COVID, the most important patients we deal is the respiratory problems, patient with asthma, patient with COPD, they are mostly affected. And again, the concern comes to the ladies which get pregnant during this period and have to deliver. So there is a term called vertical transmission. When the virus has gone inside and it has been transferred to the baby during in the womb, not coming outside. So after delivery, we cannot say vertical transmission, but when it is inside the womb, we say it is a vertical transmission. So first case which has been come in India, it was in Pune. So where the mother was being positive and the baby is also positive. There are several cases which has been coming. So it's the patient, and if you say the baby has been suffering from 2 3 days, or after 3 days they have been showing positive reports. They are doing well after a week or 2 weeks. They are doing well. So there are few cases of death. I will not say so. In conclusion, or in general, I can say that there's not much affected to the fetus or the baby after the being COVID positive as well. Even the mother is also normal after 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They have been positive, they have been suffering, and they were having some medical distress. But after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they were doing fine. Now, coming to the questions, if there are normal, healthy women, it's fine. But again, when we study for the persons or with the ladies which suffering from the other comorbidities like hyperglycemia, hyperlipidemia, in their conditions, it has been seeing they have been suffering more, and there has been there will be premature death of the baby, and there has been the cases. So if you are suffering from other comorbidities, even in the case of the pregnant lady, it is hampering the baby, and we don't know. Now they are okay, and when they will be growing up, is that virus shedding or whatever has been affected at their early birth, what it will lead to. For that, again, I think we need to screen such babies, and we need to keep record for that babies which have been developed or which have been born during this COVID time, because it's really needed. And I feel that after 10 years or 15 years, there will be a lot of changes. There will be. So, coming to the point, uh, we need to keep for the cancer field or whatever, where the samples should be stored. So it should be something which I've been talking to you, personalized medicine. So therapeutic should be designing something according to what is needed to you. So we cannot give, even if you say the cancer today, the therapeutics which are available, so it is a core of treatment lines, it is given to all the patients same, but it's not going to work like that, and it is not working also. It is somehow, it needs should be designed according to the patient, and it's very from every cancer, from every cancer, one to one cancer. So it's like same in the case of COVID, I will say. For mother to vertical transmission, there has been very less cases. There has been cases, and baby is doing fine. They have been positive, but they are now having no issues. But we don't know after 10 years what will be the scenario. So for such persons, there should be genetic storage of their, and which can be further studied. And with the help of you engineers can do that. And even biologists are coming in that platform. So I will say that is the part
Yeah,
which
I
needed to
know.
be done.
Yeah, it's more of a myth versus the fact war which is going on in the medical field. Like, it's like I'm a bioinformatician, I'm a biomedical engineer, or things like that. But there are some myths which we have not yet busted. Like, we don't deal with algorithms. Like, bioinformaticians deal with more algorithms than any person. If there is any person who is doing biomedic or bioinformatics as their degree, if they see this podcast, please get to know he's working in AIMS, but he's still tinkering with the algorithms somehow or the other, whether it's analytics or something. But you need some structured procedure to even do the work. So he's still tinkering with the algorithms and things like that. But like, I want from you, bro, like Abhibroto, I just want to ask you this one question: like, what are those myths and the facts that have really came to your mind through different people and have really told like, okay, this is not true, but they are believing in it? But like, what are all those list of the myths that you have heard about biomedical engineering, so that people can really demystify what's that actual thrill of working in this field, so that it can demystify a lot of questions that we have as researchers.
Okay. So if you say about the myth and the work, what people think and what we are really doing, so there are a lot of myths. If we say about, so before joining AIMS, I was part of Chest Research Foundation, which is a eminent institute in the field of respiratory medicine. So I've been working with asthma and COPD patients. So there are my some YouTube videos over asthma, COPD, and all the respiratory thing, where I wanted to create medical awareness, where I tell about the myths which are people been suffering, because people I will not say even people, I will say even the doctors have been not knowing from long the diseases which are the, if I say you, what is COPD? Can you tell me what is the term? You don't know. And you know, this is the second cause of death in India. So it's like a term which we even don't know. We are having highest number of cases of death and mortality, but people are not aware. When we say urban people are affected, rural people are all correct. So it's again wrong. The COPD is the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So such kind of things, there have been a lot of studies done where in the villages, people who used to cook in the chulha thing, the earthen pots or the something which is the domestic type which they were used to, the smoke which used to generate, it is much more affected, which has affected more people than the person who is doing smoking. So even you don't know that ladies are suffering more than a smoker. They have more problems as respiratory, and we never know that. Industrial pollution, environmental pollution, air pollution, even the agarbattis which we are using at home. We don't know. We say that it's a religious perspective. Saying about the religious perspective slide, you don't know how much you're affecting your lungs using that agarbatti. So it's a very general thing. You can we need to change, and which I believe, if you say about myths, there are a lot of myths in everything. If you say about the diseases, we are not aware. If I can say, not only in my state of the people, but I have seen eminent doctors, the techniques which are you've been using for detection of these diseases, they are not aware of the fact. Because at such a big setup, they don't know. Suppose we need to use a machine that has to take the reading up to 6 seconds or 10 seconds. They will stop at 2 seconds because they don't know that it has to go to 6 seconds, and they will declare that patient has been doing this. So this is a false. You cannot generate a false result until and unless you complete the full test. So these are the some of the myths which can say basically from the respiratory thing I have said. But if you say in general, other diseases also, which people believe that it is nothing to do, they have their own story, they have their own Google. I will say, please consult your doctor if you cannot, and choose a specialist, choose a consultant. There are scientific people who have been working lot of years in this field. They know and they can guide you much better. So to go ahead, instead of choosing your own ideas, and a person who is not been expertise in the field, never go to that person who has been expertise. Try to get the help from that, and then you can move ahead. So as a scientist, you can, it's not always doctors, you can come to scientists also who is working in this domain, can give you a brief idea about what the work and what is the mechanism of that disease. And I think that is very much needed for the public to know, because doctors have, they cannot take all the burdens to educate people. There are, because it's our, as a scientist, I believe, if you cannot return anything back to society, if your subject what you are doing, or you're being such good in knowledge and your thesis and whatever work you have done, it should be understood by a layman language. So that is much needed. So it's from both the sides. Scientists should come in this type of public platform and give up and tell about their work. And people should also come up with the questions. What are the myths they have been facing, and what are the figures or facts they don't know, instead of going to Google, because it's a very hard work of giving a lot of years to and dedication to the field, and then they come to a conclusion. It's not something we get from the Wikipedia or something. It's something which we work in lab, we experimentally see the things, and then we get the conclusion. So
Yeah,
this is clear for the myths.
yes, yes. Like, I just want to ask you this question on Neuralink and AlphaFold 2. I think Elon Musk is doing something great, because for the sustainability of the world, it's not just about like saying me like, hey, I'll just solve some problem statement. Come here and just use my devices or like my technology. Neuralink is from the Elon Musk, and AlphaFold 2 is from the Deep Mind, which is nowhere related to the biotechnology that we might be working, because these guys work on deep learning and they are thorough with their algorithm. So now they know the potential of an algorithm is. So I want you to comment on these type of technologies which are coming up today: the Neuralink, the AlphaFold 2, and recently there are other EG caps like kernels like that. What's your view on these kind of technology?
Okay, so what you said about Elon Musk, I think it's in my comment. but I will definitely say, so this is like the theory and generation which you people, which youngsters are, everyone is fascinated about to learn. And again, it's the proof. And again, what I say, whatever experiment we do should be supported by algorithm. So what I said in my first talk, that we should come as an interdisciplinary. There should be persons from IT, should be person from mathematics, should be person from statistics, which help us to develop. Anonymous alone cannot do that. Or if you go for Microsoft, you cannot do that. If you go for any kind of research, you need a big support from every part of the professions. So ultimately, the conclusion is, you say about neural network or whatever work, whatever the top, you can say the people or which are inspiring you youngsters or such us also. I will just say it's not always making money. It's always the ideas how they generate that. So you need to know, it's you. You do have that potential to do that. Only thing is, you need to know what is your way of going to that journey. It's not going the journey the way they followed, because you don't know what are the pros. You can see, whole world can see the Elon Musk is increasing and there is wealth and finance, everything they can see. Elon Musk is someone which is being followed by a lot of youngsters, and he's a person who has done such a good work. I can say that you people can just see for that pros and that wealth and that finance he is having. But to get into that journey, it's really a tough task. And there are a lot of cons before that. So you can also go through that and you can also get into your journey. But you need to know the idea how you build up. And then you need to put your idea how to generate that. So, and the technology, whichever techniques, whichever this thing, all things are there. It is you who just go and search it and get it into it. And there are people from different interdisciplinary field. Again, I am saying there are mathematicians, there are biologists, there are chemists that led to a main one person in Musk. It's not Elon Musk himself. It's a teamwork that has led him. So if you come out today also, it's the people we are working, we are taking help from different field, and we are generating our ideas. Then only it comes to an innovation, or it can, you can say you're financially, you're mentally, and your achievement can be justified. Just only getting without having your own ideas, or without your just copying someone's ideas and getting into that, will not lead you to some. It will be a success for some years, but not forever. So that satisfaction should be coming from inside. And I believe that youngsters really feel and see him as a inspiration in Anmus, and hope so you will be also someday getting into that position, and you can do it. It's nothing big deal. I always believe that just believe in yourself, and whatever ideas, whatever technology is there, you can just rule out and be the leader over that field.
Thank you so much for this amazing podcast. Because it's an utter satisfaction for me to have you on my podcast. And of course, I'll be calling you once again with those three professors. Actually, three professors plus you. So it is going to be something which is going to be very awesome for all the people, the medicos, non-medicos. Just hop in, people, get some GAN, and just move out with some satisfaction of listening to some great people. Thank you so much, Abhibroto. It was an amazing podcast. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You're most welcome.